Hello my lovelies, welcome back to a brand new video. Now I am in the middle of uploading my part 2 to Why I Am the Way I Am, but I thought I'd quickly do a part 3 and hopefully it won't be as long. So let's get started. Now I want to move on a little bit from my parents' divorce. And talk about my bullying at school. Now, this is probably going to be the hardest thing I am here having to talk about, because it's not something that I've spoke about in about 5-6 years. I mean, properly sat down, spoke about it. I've said on the odd occasion about, oh well, I was bullied at school, but I've never really gone into it because of it's been really upsetting, really difficult for me, and it's something that I am over it now, but it's still in there. And a lot of people say that sticks and stones, words can't hurt. Well, I never used to let things affect or bother me when I was little, but then I got older and then I knew what they meant, and that's when they did hurt. So I had the kind of, not physical bullying, but the real mental stuff. And I feel like because it's mental, it stays more in your head. So I'm going to mention the same thing I mention in all of my videos. I'm not going to mention names. There was one video where I mentioned one name and I kept it in there, and I regret doing it because if that person watches, they're gonna know who that I'm talking about them, and I feel bad for doing that. So there is one I have done it, but apart from that one, I'm not gonna mention any names. My brother doesn't mind me mentioning his name because I've asked his permission, and he's like, yeah, okay, that's okay. So, but no, I've been bullied from my very first day, since my very first day of school ever, to my very ever last day of school. It never ended for me, and I probably will cry in this video, but that's what happened. I put waterproof mascara on, knowing that I was probably gonna end up crying, because if I ever have children, the worst thing I would ever want for them is going to school and going through what I went through. So I don't really know where to begin. I mean, I know what happened first, but it's knowing how to explain it to you guys, and I don't know how I'm going to say the story without crying my eyes out. I told you I'm gonna cry. So, I made friends with a girl at my first day of school. Yeah, me making a friend. That was really not heard of with me, because me making friends was just my weakest point. And I think me being bullied at school is probably what damaged my confidence for a long time. You know, just the simple things, which is believing in yourself, liking who you are, liking what you look like, you know, believing that you're not ugly, that people can be around you, that no one, you know, tries their best to move away from you. You know, so my very first day, I made friends with a girl who became my best friend and the only friend I ever had. Sometimes just having that one friend is better than nobody, which it does turn into no one eventually. So she had ginger, really ginger, curly hair that was everywhere, and I liked it. It was cool, it suited her. Nothing against gingers, you know. It doesn't matter what hair colour or skin colour or where you're from. If you're nice to me, I'm gonna be nice to you. And she was nice to me, so I was nice to her, and she was my best friend, and we don't talk anymore. Not because of the whole bullying thing. We just went to different secondary schools and lost contact, and that's just what happens sometimes. And I'll never forget her. She's still in here, and I still love her to bits. Sorry, this is like, I never thought I'd be doing this, and it's really hard for me to just... Sorry. Some of the people that have bullied me might end up watching this, so they might think, well, we did that to her. Yeah, you did. You did. So, she used to wear long white socks up to her knees, and where she looked and wore her uniform very, very different to everyone else, it caught attention. But in the student's eyes, it was the wrong attention. It was a target, an easy person to bully, easy to upset, and easy to go for. And I was treated the same as her because I was friends with her, and I was seen to be that different girl, the strange, weird girl, because she could have chosen any friend that looked to their normal, but I didn't. I chose this particular friend, and I loved her to bits and still do. And I know that she moved house a few recent years ago, and I don't know where it is, what house it is, but if I could see her again and say let's be friends and start seeing each other, and that would be good, because sometimes we'd argue and not always get on, but that's friends. Anyway, so it started with a bit of name calling, a bit of saying, you know, you're ugly, you're dumb, you're stupid, stuff like that. But that doesn't bother me. If someone calls me ugly today, I would just turn around and say, well, I know I'm not, and I'm sorry that you feel bad enough that you have to say something like that to someone. I try and turn it into a positive thing today. And I used to, whenever I had bad comments, I used to naturally just ignore it. I never let it bother me. I was never told to react like that, but I always did. And and then it turned into, and then they obviously got annoyed because they didn't get a reaction out of me, anything like that. So it gone from that extreme to the extreme of nobody talked to her, no one acknowledged that she exists, just pretends that she's not here. Whenever she sits next to you, just move away from her. Don't be near her at all. And it went from my whole year to the whole school doing it. And I don't want to exaggerate, you know, with that. I don't want it to seem like, oh, it can't be the whole school. But please trust me when I say that school was supposed to be the best time of my life, but it was my worst, and I was never myself at school. I always dreaded it. You know, what you see of me, what you see how I am now, the confident, hi, how are you doing? I was the most shy, quiet as a mouse person you'll ever meet at school, because the confidence was not right out of me. I forgot what confidence was. And I always had a different facial expression at school. And whenever I'd see somebody today that used to bully me, my face would change. Just like that. I can't click. And I would freeze and not know what to do and be not scared, but I don't know. And you know, nobody would speak to me at school. Nobody would ever want to hang out with me. And whenever it was a group activity in class, when they say you need to go in a group of 4, or you need to do this in a pair, so you need to go in pairs, I would go round. This is no joke. You might think I'm joking with this next bit, but I'm really not joking. I would go round in my class that I was in. My best friend was never in my class. She was always in a different one, otherwise I would have gone with her. So I only saw her break time. So I went round to every single class friends that I thought was my friend. I'd ask every single person in the room, can I go with you? And it was always, I'm already going with so-and-so. And then I'd see them going up to that person and saying, can I go with you? So no one had partners at this point. But they did their damn hardest to make sure they weren't going to go with me. And I always ended up with the teacher, which was fine because I thought, well, being with the teacher means that I'd get the best help. And I was always, when it comes to pairs or group activities, I was always the last. I say to be picked, I was never picked. It was the same with PE, the sports. I was never picked, and the teacher would just have to, oh, well, you're what's left, you can go with them, and no one was ever happy to have me. And my confidence was not that bad that I lost confidence, faith in myself. I was always on the belief that I was never good enough to be with anybody. That's why sometimes I'm like, do I really still have a boyfriend? Like, he's downstairs. I love him so much. And we argue quite a fair bit. We had a massive argument the other night. But we're okay now. We're just getting on top of each other. It's this bloody lockdown. Trying to smile about it, but you can tell I've been crying. I'm looking in my mirror and I'm like, yeah, I've been crying. I knew I was going to cry with this one. I was told 99% of the time that I was ugly, that no one will ever want me as a friend, no guy will ever date me. You know, if I do ever have a boyfriend, he was always to be blind, because anyone that could ever see would never go out with me. You know, stuff like that. That I was told nearly every day, and most of the day. I was told that I was so stupid. The only job I would ever be good enough for is McDonald's, but I just think it's good pay. I've never worked at McDonald's, just putting it out there. I've recently been working at the Hilton Hotel. I think that's a bit better than McDonald's, don't you? I mean, I think that's probably why I always struggled with schoolwork, because I was in my head so bothered and upset and destroying in myself about all the bullying that was going on, that not only was my confidence bad with, things that I've just mentioned, it was bad as in I wasn't confident enough and didn't feel brave enough to work really hard, and it had me struggle with school work, at school and with homework for all my school life really. And then secondary school, it was just worse, went downhill. The same old bullying went on. No one wanted to work with me. No one wanted to be near me. There was this one time at one of my schools. It was my junior school. And I really liked this boy. I thought he was really cute, and when you're like year 6 and you're like, oh, she loves you, it's that kind of thing. It was like that. I really liked this guy when I was in year 6, well, this boy at the time, and I had known him since my first day of school. While I was an infant, so I remember going to his house for tea, and then him coming to mine for tea, and we would watch Bananas in Pyjamas or Teletubbies, or when I was that age. And then as we got older, I found him cute. When you have your little school crushes, and we were having a sort of story time, and we would sit on the floor, when you got your legs crossed and your arms crossed, and it wasn't just any old story time, you all had to read a bit from the book, which at the time was Biff and Chip books. Who remembers those? They were amazing. Oh, those books, I think, still go in school libraries, I'm not sure, but they were like my favourite to read. But I struggled to read, so I struggled to read that kind for a long time. But my reading is so amazing now, like, you wouldn't have thought I struggled, because I pushed myself to work really hard, and now I'm amazing. And I love who I am now. Sometimes I have my off day and I'm like, I don't like how I look, and it's like, why? But I like how I look today. I think I look quite nice. I mean, my makeup, I kind of rushed it, but, whatever. So anyway, I had a crush on him, and I wanted to sit next to him, and someone whispered in his ear, one of the students whispered, don't sit next to her. And he kept moving away from me, and every time there was an activity where we'd sit on the carpet or school pictures, that whole class would always sit away from me. You would notice there was the class here, the class was here, but then me trying to stand next to the class, I was always there. They always left a gap. No one ever wanted to stand next to me. And then I'd have a year, nearly a whole school, for most of my school life, not even talk to me. They'd carry on as if I was never there. And that hurt me more than... I'd rather them tell me I'm ugly and fat and insult me than not talk to me at all. Because at least if they're insulting me, they've acknowledged that I actually exist. I'd rather have that than not be acknowledged that I'm there. I think that's what hurt me more, was, the thought of them acting as if I'm not there hurt and upset me more, And I feel like the more the mental stuff, I feel like it's worse than physical, because physical, you can hit someone and the pain will go away and think, oh, that doesn't hurt anymore. But mental, it stays in your head. I mean, I'm not trying to say, you know, I do believe that physical violence at school, always beating them up, I'm sure, I know for a fact that would stay there as well, and that would still upset people. But I feel like where I only had the mental and not the physical, I only know from that point of view. I never had anyone hit me or hurt me in any way. I did in the middle of my when I was at junior school, towards the middle of the year, so like heading up towards year 6, not quite. I think I was year 4 or year 5. No, I was year 5, coming up year 6. And there was this one student who was year 6. And she was going to be obviously leaving to go to secondary school. I forget what school she went to, but it doesn't matter. I think it was the same secondary school I ended up going to. And they wanted a reaction out of me, because the name calling and, you know, insulting me, it wasn't giving them a reaction that they were hoping for, and they wanted some form of reaction, so they wanted her to start being horrible and getting physical. So she started pinching me, but she would pinch to the point to make sure it would hurt or leave a mark. And they had organised it to happen every break and lunchtime, and this happened for either a good few days or a good couple of weeks. And they would say, "It's okay, Annalise, don't be scared, we'll be here for you." But they basically stabbed me in the back because they had planned it and arranged it. They knew what was going on. They pretended, obviously, to be there for me and say, "Don't be scared." But I was scared. I know it was only a few small pinches, but I honestly thought that it was going to escalate, and I was scared it was going to get even more physical. But the girl that was doing it, she lives 2 doors away from my mum now, but she did, when she got older and I got older, she did say sorry, and she's not been horrible ever since. We don't talk because, well, I don't like her for it, but I have forgiven her and said, you know what, that was school, we're adults now. But when she finally at school said sorry, she done it again. And I did cry, and I did tell the teacher, and the teacher got her into trouble. They really told her off for it. But my teachers at school, they knew that something wasn't right, something was going on. They often thought I struggled to make friends and that was it. Some of them didn't realise that I was actually being bullied, but I never told on them. I never said, so-and-so's not talking to me. You know, it became normal. You know, I got used to it, and I didn't think it was a problem. Obviously, I knew I was being bullied, but I just tried to get on. I tried to just learn, because you're not there at school to make friends, you're there to learn. Friends are just a bonus, you know? And so it got to secondary school, and my auntie was one of the LSAs at secondary school. She's amazing, I love her so much. And when it comes to secondary school, my auntie was the only real friend that I had. There was a new girl that came a few years later that became a friend of mine, but she wasn't the best influence, but she wasn't very well. She was quite poorly, and she's in a special place for those who are not very well, and she's been there for a while, and she's had a tough life, and I don't want to be the reason that she doesn't get better, and nor does some other friends that I know. So she had to leave school, and I thought, great, I finally make a friend who actually likes me, and then they have to leave me. Like, I don't deserve this. But when I first joined secondary school, I saw an old friend, and that he had gone to play school with me, and he was my best friend at play school, but he didn't go to infants and junior school with me, but he was in my class at secondary school, and the same old people would end up, you know, carrying on as if I didn't exist, and that happens all the time. And then my last ever year of school, I made a friend that I still talk to today, that's my best friend. She's amazing. I love her so much. She lives a bit away from me, but not too far. About 30 minutes to an hour. But she's worth it. She's amazing. If she ends up watching this, she'll know that I'm talking about her. She stuck by me through thick and thin. She's, I'm not gonna say anything about her because, one, it's private, and two, that's not what this is about. Again, I'm sorry that this is a long video, but there's so much to say. And going back to my auntie, she knew that I wasn't myself at school, that I was the quietest person, and my family know me for talking way too much, and to hear me being as quiet as a mouse at school, already they're like, that's not you. You don't shut up, like, you don't stop talking. I've always been told that I can talk for England, talk the phone book. Those who remember the phone book. Wow, I'm showing my age. I remember the phone book. Anyway, in all seriousness, if you're being bullied at school, please don't let it hold you back from following your dreams, doing what you want to do. And yes, it can knock your confidence, but you're the one laughing at the end, because they're the ones that got pregnant at 16 with more than one child, by more than one dad. They're the ones that don't have a life anymore, but you're the one that does. So they did all that bullying to not give themselves a life anymore, to take drugs and do all these silly things, yet who's laughing at the end and who's on the top? Me. This person. I'm now laughing because I'm being sensible. I've had an amazing job at a hotel, which is not McDonald's, which is not £5 an hour, which they said I'd only be good enough for. You know, I don't take drugs. I don't have kids by different dads. I wasn't pregnant at 16. So a bad thing that can happen to you, you can turn out the better person and turn the other cheek. And some of them are not doing very well, and a lot of them, my main bullies, they're work shy, lazy people that just don't want to work, and some of them just don't have the grades. But I do, because I didn't let you stop me, and here I am, and this is my bullying story. And I love who I am, I love myself. I'm not one of those that goes, oh, I love myself, everyone look at me. I'm far from that, trust me. After hearing this story, you'll be surprised that I feel good about myself. It's taken me 10 years to feel good about myself. I don't feel amazing about myself. I'm not there yet. I do have days where I feel rubbish about myself, but then we all get like that. But no, when I look at myself, I don't see ugly anymore. I used to. Sometimes I might think, oh, I don't like how that looks. But I feel I look pretty with and without makeup. And now you know just a little bit more about me. So I've done a very brave thing. Very brave. And I can't believe I'm going to put this out there on YouTube. But I'm so glad that I've said how I felt and told my story. Like, I say I'm over it. I feel like I've let it go now. And I the sense of relief and weight that's lifted off my shoulders because I've actually told a full-on story. I've never really told the story. I've only really said to people, oh, well, I was bullied at school. I've never gone into depth before, and I feel so good that I've done that. So now I'm going to end the video because it's over 30 minutes. Anyway, thank you ever so much for watching. And I really hope you enjoyed what you could and that you've learned more about me, which is really good. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.